Cool. So yeah, I'm from Northern California originally. Like, pretty interesting childhood. Basically, like up on the Oregon border, and I was born in a cabin my dad built, and my family raised like chickens and sheep and rabbits and stuff. And basically, my mom would make like my clothes from the woolly animals and all that, the whole family or whatever. And basically, I got interested in film when I was a kid because my family, my dad had this whole beat up truck, and he would drive us down to like, there was a small town about 45 minutes away with university, HSU, Humboldt State University. And so we would go down there in this whole beat up truck and crash like film classes and stuff like that. So starting from a very young age, I was always really into movies, but I was also like watching like very ambitious sort of like film student movies, like as like a 6-year-old kid or younger. And so yeah, that's like my earliest like memories of film, or like Bringing Up Baby, and which is a classic film, and all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of like Cary Grant, His Girl Friday, all that kind of stuff, and like and then also like Doctor Strangelove and like all that kind of thing. And yeah, so I always really wanted to make movies. Then when I was like, around like 12 or something, I had a buddy who got like a VHS camcorder or whatever. And so like I would go and shoot movies on that, and I would get like 2 VCRs and put them together and like hit play on one and record on the other and stop it and start it, and that's how I would edit them together. And then I even had a buddy who was like kind of a tech, like somehow like whatever, kind of a whiz, and we plugged in like a found a way to plug in a CD player into the back of the VCR, and then that's how we like put like music track on there and stuff like that. So that's kind of like how I got started or whatever. And then like fast forward whatever, several years, I ended up going to USC Film School, and then after when I was there, I was like, me and some buddies started like a music video production company, and we just started like shooting like really low budget videos with this company. And then that company just we started shooting bigger and bigger videos, and but then when I was even doing that like my senior year of college or whatever. And then after I graduated college, I made my first movie, like an indie movie called Redland, and then that did pretty well. Got like nominated for an Independent Spirit Award and stuff like that, which is kind of like a big indie award or something. And so I did that, and then this is my second movie, and met this guy, and happy to be working with him, and happy to be here in Dallas.
Yeah. I love that story. It's such a good, such an amazing story. I used to go to the movies alone all the time. I used to watch French Lieutenant Woman like 8 times.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I don't know why I was obsessed with it. I was like literally 11. Crying.
Yeah.
But no, I read the script, and it was just such an interesting script, and I'd seen his previous film. And then I loved the character, I loved the story. And so we met, and we had a really magical meeting where we just had coffee, and we were in Venice, and all these weirdos just started stopping by that I'd known throughout my life. One friend I hadn't seen in 20 years, another crazy comedian, rapper. It was this weird, fun, like kind of meeting. And we hit it off really well. So it gave me the opportunity to play the role. I had to lose a ton of weight, so he sent me to a survivalist tour where I went to Utah, in the outback of Utah, for 5 days and didn't eat for 2 and ate pine nuts and buffalo berries. And then I learned how to make a fire and skin an animal and make a shelter. And
real survivalist stuff then.
Yeah, real stuff. But it was
it came really handy in the movie too.
Yeah, it did.
Tell how you found that animal that you skinned.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to kill an animal because that's not my thing. But I knew I had to skin something. We were thinking like we could go back and I could get something from a butcher or something. But we were on our last day. We were walking. We see a bobcat, and the bobcat sees us and drops something and runs off. And it was this little gopher. So I learned how to skin a gopher. And then we had to eat some of it because we didn't want to waste it.
Oh.
It's very gamey. Gopher's gamey, I'll tell you that much. A little charred. But it was great. We built a fire and, ate a gopher. The rest is history, really. No, but we got to work with some amazing actors in this. Lily Cole, and
Goran.
Goran.
Did a great job, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Any questions, or should we keep going?
David, how was your health after that experience? Did you feel good? Did you feel strong?
I did. I mean, it was tough. It was super tough, and like, you know, it kind of pushes you to the edge of just like make it through kind of thing. But there's also a real, like, you start seeing colors more vividly, and you're able to see at night, and you know, it's interesting. It really did prepare me for the film, where it's like these people were animals. They're like in this desolate land, and they're just trying to survive.
Yeah, definitely. I think the survival school, like, you know, besides did come in handy with building stuff and like all that kind of stuff, but also just like you like be mentally understand that world or whatever, for sure. I think, you know, definitely think it helped you get into the character and everything like that, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you isolate the actors from like society? Or
I mean, well, anytime you're like, well, the thing is, like, I really like to shoot on location, and this we shot in Detroit, but in like, cause the thing is, when you go onto location, no matter what, you build up sort of like a family type thing, you know, and you're out there alone, you're like with the, you know, everybody's together, all in the same hotel, you know, and no matter what, you're like sort of isolated in your little island. Right. And it's you know, it's like, that's for me, like one of my favorite things about like doing a film is you go away for a few months or however long, and you're in this, you know, this little realm of your own imagination, and like the real world doesn't exist outside this little world of everybody working to create this thing together, you know.
How did you come up with the idea for the story?
I came up with the idea. Basically, film ideas come to me in images, and so this is my second movie, so both my films are like this. Like, I had this idea for, basically I had this image in my head of a hunter character like playing cards with this sort of shamanistic, you know, dark, death-like figure, and it was just like in a dark room, and so that I just had this image in my head, and then, but the cards they were playing with were tarot cards, but they weren't reading tarot; they were gambling, and so that was sort of the genesis of the idea, was that image, and then I started getting more images in my head of like a woman chained up, you know, like giving birth, but she's a virgin, and like, so like just like having these random thoughts and images in my head. And definitely obviously based on different mythological texts and stuff like that, and so like, and then put it all together, sort of, you know, just like write down like random notes, and then, I mean, like of images and all this stuff, and just like in a notebook, and I'll write pages of it, and then I'll go back through and try to, you know, see if there's a story there or whatever, you know.
What made you decide on Detroit, and what was it like when you were filming it?
I decided Detroit because the first thing, when you're thinking post-apocalyptic, you're thinking, oh, maybe desert or something, but then I thought that's a little like stereotypical, you know, just like every post-apocalyptic movie takes place in the desert, you know, and then also is it like, to me, it was more realistic that it should be, because if it was, then people would be living amongst our ruins, you know, and I was thinking sort of about the Dark Ages in Europe, and I was thinking about Rome during the Dark Ages, how people, these civil, like after Rome fell apart, like the, you know, early, like Christians were like living in Rome, the population collapsed, and they were living amongst the ruins of like this ancient civilization they knew nothing about, and so I thought it'd probably be more like that. So then you're looking around what would be like a cool place to shoot, and I looked at this photo book of like all the urban decay and stuff in Detroit. That's perfect, and it was great. I love to shoot in Detroit. I don't know.
Yeah, I loved it too.
Yeah,
it was a real, like, you know, I'm not sure if it was 6 weeks or whatever, but we were literally like, you'd work all day and then just go to sleep and then work back up. You know, it was kind of like you were really in the trenches, and everybody was together. It's a small cast, so it was really sort of all-encompassing.
What were some of the buildings or areas in Detroit that you got to film in?
well, I mean, there's like a lot of like, you know, I think the classic spot that the Packard plant is a great place to shoot. Obviously, we shot the main set was like actually like out, it was between Detroit and, like, we built this like magician, I don't know, like this magician sort of cabin, like crazy place, and we built that in this out between like Detroit and Dearborn, and then you know, just around different things, you know.
Did you have any problems filming in Detroit? Because I know that, you know, a lot of people go to Detroit now to film, you know, there was a music video that was filmed there with the tiger that escaped in the Packard plant. And, you know, some of the locals are not really liking, you know, people filming in the ruins of Detroit. Did you guys get any, you know, resistance or interference from the locals?
No, I think they were all great. I mean, the main problem I mean, there's different problems. Like like, you know, some of the problems we had is like when we started getting into like, you know, late November, December, and had Dave chained in a loincloth to like this cold cement. It was probably pretty painful. And then I ended up like stepping on a nail, and so I got tetanus. And that was pretty brutal. And then that actually started striking like on the night before the last shoot, and so I had to like go to the ER and was up all night. Then I had to go to the shoot and got like, you know, like seriously like 24 shots or something, and then I had to go shoot. So that was pretty tough. And then we ended up going like all night, so that was pretty brutal. But it was actually a lot of fun. Still, I don't know. It was great. Yeah.
Still a lot of fun.
You know.
And when he was scouting one time, this truck pulled up with all these like shady-looking dudes with dogs.
Yeah,
they get out, and the guy who's showing them around is like, "This is actually not good."
yeah, totally.
So like, and they were all like looking for them, and they had to hide. And they kind of ditch them and get out of there.
Totally. He's like, oh man, yeah, this is dangerous or whatever. Yeah, and he was like showing us, like I was with the producer Magdalena. She's like a, you know, fairly attractive woman, and it's like, this seems kind of dangerous. He's like, this is dangerous, man. And so we're like, yeah, trying to escape from these guys and this thing. And they had like guns and dogs, and it was crazy. But that's like, the thing is with Detroit, honestly, it's like a really cool city.
It is. It's awesome. The music is incredible. The people are great.
Yeah, the art's great.
The art scene is just incredible. They're like, all these people, there's a bunch of squatter artists, and they just go, their street art scene is out of control.
Yeah.
Talk about using the artists.
Yeah, so when we were in pre-production, like, you know, trying to, you know, I had this whole look in my head of like what I want this film to be, and like we're kind of struggling with the, you know, with the production designer and stuff, you know, talented, you know, people, but I was just like, they weren't like sort of getting what I don't know, like it was just like, I don't know, I was like kind of just getting nervous like about it. And when it was going around Detroit, and I met some artists, like local artists who live there, and like went over to their house, and like their whole life was like post-apocalyptic. They created like all this great art and like sculptures and stuff, and it was like super rad. I'm like, I want these people, like they get, their whole life is like what my movie is. They get it, you know. So I brought them onto the movie, and like when I first like brought them on, obviously like they'd never done a movie. They're just like these like, you know, like hardcore artists, you know, who lived in like this ramshackle house that's falling apart that they're like building or something. And so like with like chickens running around and all sorts of stuff. And like
From Brooklyn, probably.
no, one was from Oakland originally, I think, and I think they might have been both originally from Oakland, but they had been living in Detroit, but they travel around, and like they're sort of itinerant, travel around and do art and stuff. And this chick Monica, basically like everyone's like, what do you know, they don't even have a title, like it's like, I don't care, like I don't give a shit, like I want these people on my movie, they know exactly what I want. And over the course of the movie, like we just leaned on them, and particularly Monica, so much, like in terms of costume and art, and props, and like they even cut David's hair for the movie, and just the role kept expanding. And like that was probably honestly like sort of like politically difficult, because people who worked in movies or were on the art crew was like, what the fuck are you bringing, you know? And it's like, they get it, you know, and they worked their asses off, and they did a great job. So a lot of the look, you know, like they did a lot of the stuff in it for sure, you know.
Was there a Detroit Film Commission, or is there any kind of support from the city? Or
I mean, I think there is. I mean, I definitely think there is. I didn't really deal, like, that's more like on the production end, you know what I mean? Like the producers and stuff deal with that stuff, but it was, I loved shooting there, you know, from my perspective, I loved it, you know.
So how different was your vision of what you saw when you were putting it together than the final product?
That's such a hard question. I don't even know how to answer that question, because like when it's a lot the way it is, but it's different. It's just like how, like when I'm like having ideas or like creating something, like I don't like say it has to be like, I don't even know how to answer that, you know, like the whole thing is just like very, I don't know, it's like very fluid. I think that like that you have a concept, and like, but I don't like say, okay, I want the character to look like this, you know. I write a character, I do the best I can to write a good script that's like an interesting script, and then like I want to go out and shoot it, and then react to the environment and react to what the actors are doing, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely like, I don't know, I like to I like to go with it and like sort of just like control, sort of like it's like controlled chaos or something, you know. So I don't know how to even. I mean, it's definitely the same. It's the same script or whatever, you know. It's the same movie, but it's like when you look at a script, it's just writing on a page, you know, and then you just go make it and turn it visual and turn in, you know, like turn in sound and vision and, you know, that kind of thing.
David, quick question. That scene where you're chained down to the ground.
Yeah.
Would you say that's your most challenging?
That was
painful.
That was challenging. It's like, you know, it's all these old, you know, fiberglass and all this shit you're on and sticky things, and it's literally freezing cold, and these chains are super cold. But, you know, we just had to do it. I lost my cool on that one. But it actually added to it where you could scream and
totally.
Get like angry and like freaked out, and it just, when you're in those sort of spaces, it reads in your eyes and
It definitely
becomes
added
real
to
for
it,
a
I think.
second.
Are you able to shape the images, like dealing with material like this? Are you able to go home and, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the characters kind of stay with you for a little while after. I haven't seen the film yet, so I'm really excited to see it. And I just would see little glimpses of how he was shooting it and sort of his eye on, he's got such an artistic mind and eye for film that I'm just excited to see how it all come together. But that one wasn't as hard to shake as some other ones, like a Holocaust film or something, when you read all the stuff about it and, like, you know, go deep into that.
Mr. Arquette, I wanted to talk a little more about the challenge of this film. It's a little different from other projects I've seen you do, and in terms of it not having a lot of dialogue and there's a lot of nonverbal stuff. I know you're used to physical acting, but this is a little different from what we usually see. So what was the
He wouldn't let
challenge
me do
with
any
that?
pratfalls. I was like, just a little soft shoe? No. Yeah, no, it was challenging, especially like, you know, the walking and not saying anything, or just like, you know, you have to speak with your eyes a lot. And, you know, there's a lot just, I don't know, you could take from animals, you know what I mean? Because they really did feel like animals. All these creatures are kind of like primitive, and, you know, so you see how animals act. They're like always looking out. They could be killed at any moment. So that kind of like hyper-aware stuff, but also you have to be calm, you have to be smooth, you have to, you know, you can't really panic.
I want to ask you about, we were told that you did this artwork.
Yeah, I did the poster, I did the flyers,
It's really
yeah.
good artwork.
Yeah,
that's
I
awesome.
do want to ask, do you sometimes draw out the characters that are in your head as
Well, I'll do
you're
like
writing?
storyboard stuff, you know, for sure. But
I didn't see that. That's
I definitely storyboard it, and I do a shot list and all that. But even going back to like we're talking about like how much, so I definitely. But then even when I'm on set, I'll be trying to think of what would be even cooler or what I want to do or combine shots. Usually trying to extend takes and stuff like that, you know, and also just reacting to the environment and reacting to the actors. So basically, like, yeah, I'll use storyboards, and like a shot list is sort of like the basic template, but then I'm always like trying to expand off of it, or, you know what I mean, change it up, like based on what's going on in the world, or what the sun is doing, what the actors are doing, like all that kind of stuff, what the wind is doing or whatever, you know.
Willing to change on the
Yeah, totally, for sure, yeah.
How long did it take you to design the final product of the poster we see behind you?
I don't know, probably a few days, I don't know, something, probably a few days. Maybe a day, honestly, I don't even know. Probably, I did a different poster first, and I wasn't it was like a little too, I kind of did like something like they had like this sort of like 1960s sort of like, I don't like book cover type design thing, almost more more design, like more like drawing or whatever. But then I thought, nah, I was just like, it felt a little too like whatever, and then I did this one. And then based on that, then I did the flyers, and I like drew these characters and all that kind of stuff.
Was it pretty much all natural lighting?
Yeah, exteriors. I don't like to use any lights on exteriors, but and I like to shoot like a magic hour if possible. Yeah, but interiors definitely is lit, you know. But again, like I like simple lighting scheme. Like I'm a big fan of like Caravaggio or Rembrandt, that kind of like Baroque, you know, painting, And so definitely that's like a big. Or Gordon Willis is a great cinematographer that I really admire a lot. And so definitely a lot of single source or stuff like that. Try to be as natural as possible, and hopefully, and rugged. You want like this is a post-apocalyptic movie, so I want it to be rugged and like tough, but at the same time like have some artistic like beauty to it at the same time.
Since you didn't have as much dialogue, I felt like there was a lot of like getting on close-ups of the eyes, and especially like David getting the emotion in the face. Was that something you went in knowing you wanted to have that close intimacy with the characters, or did it just kind of happen on set?
Well, again, like I do a shot list and I storyboard, but it's also like it's both. You know what I mean? It's both what the actors are doing. It's both. And you're shooting, and what's working. And again, like it's a fairly ambitious film, particularly in terms of art and stuff like that. So we like what's working with art. It's like all this, like when you're directing, it's like all this stuff, and you're just like reacting to what the whole world's giving you and doing, and you're just writing it. And so it's a combination of like that pre-plan and like what's working and what's, what you're feeling. And definitely with this, again, like, there isn't a lot of dialogue, so a lot of the performance is silent. So you want to see their face, you want to get in close, you know what I mean? And I don't know, just like give it some like emotional weight,
Was there any scenes that you had to reconstruct once you went to editing or anything like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then that's the thing, because when you edit, you rewrite it. It's like another form of writing in a way, I think, So I think like editing and writing are the most intellectual processes. But so definitely like you're rearranging scenes and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff, taking scenes out. So stuff like that,
So, Arquette, did you do any practical joking or anything on the set? Did you have time for?
Not really. It wasn't sort of like that kind of set. It wasn't like the kind where you're laughing. Like,
But
we'd have fun.
Yeah.
We definitely had fun. Yeah, don't get me wrong about that. But like the fun would be, doing a drug scene and doing it too crazy, and be like, okay, buddy, you gotta like pull it back, or like, when he like discovers this one lens that he starts to keep using, and he gets all like a little kid. He's like, I just love what it's doing, and like, when he gets like a little mad professor.
Yeah, or like every time there's like a lot, because there's like a decent amount of blood in the movie or whatever. Yeah. Like every time breaking out the blood effects, it'd just be like, I always have a blast with that stuff. So I was always like, So the more disturbing literally the more disturbing the scene, you'll hear me behind the camera, like in editing, I just hear myself. Completely. I just be laughing so hard at all that stuff.
Yeah. This movie is set in like a neo-Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Coming after an apocalyptic event.
Yeah.
Would you like to make an actual period Middle Ages movie sometime?
Well, definitely like a lot. Some of my, and definitely some of the inspiration for this, like this is like whatever. I don't want to sound like too pretentious or something, but some of the like influence on the film are definitely like Seven Seal, or it's like Conan meets Seven Seal or something. You know what I mean? So
Does that make me Conan?
So that kind of thing, or like, totally. I love that stuff. Like Andrei Rublev is another great Middle Ages movie, and then like Chimes of Midnight, the Orson Welles, and all that kind of. There's so many great ones, for sure.
Any post-apocalyptic films?
Well, definitely
like Boy and the Dog, or.
I mean, again, like. It's weird. I think like the original idea, like I said, with him playing cards, sort of like came out of like the Seventh Seal, probably not purposefully, but definitely that's a movie that I love, and so that was like obviously not post-apocalyptic, but that's something I could say, oh, that's that. But like a lot of it, like I love like a lot of post-apocalyptic movies. I love like obviously the first Mad Max, and then Road Warrior. I really love particularly Road Warrior. I think is a really terrific movie, and then like. I like there's like this like Stalker and like Tarkovsky's Stalker, and it's a great movie, and so but I wasn't necessarily like thinking, oh, I want to make Stalker, or like, and I love like the book The Road is a great post-apocalyptic novel, but I wasn't like, oh, I want to rip off Cormac McCarthy or something, so like I don't know, but it's all in there probably or something. And then Children of Men, the way that's shot is unbelievable, so for
Can
sure.
you talk about the mythology in your story? I mean, what's your inspiration behind that?
Well, Yeah, I'm definitely into mythology a lot and stuff. So we read a lot of like Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell and stuff like that. So that was definitely an influence for sure. And like the Tarot was obviously an influence for sure. So yeah, so definitely like again going into that Dark Age idea, like sort of those like alchemical archetypes and stuff there in Tarot and all that was definitely, I was thinking about that stuff for sure. But then I was thinking it'd be like, I wanted to create my own sort of Tarot card, so I wasn't just doing like a Tarot deck, but it was like my own sort of archetype type of figure.
Your own vision is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, totally, for sure.
How does music influence the way that you write? 'Cause even the music in here is great.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, TK he's a good friend of mine. Did a great job with the score, and we worked really hard on that and for forever. And like, you know, like there's a scene where Lily sings a song in this, and even like I wrote the lyrics to that. You probably can't hear it because she's singing, but like writing like an epic poem for somebody to sing was actually kind of a difficult task. Okay, I don't want this to be too cheesy, yada yada yada. So that's stuff. But then like TK and I was like, how are we ever gonna make this work? You know, it's a difficult thing to write like some kind of like medieval ballad type thing, you know. And TK came in and he killed it, and like, we worked together and pretty hard on all the score and just doing super creative things and stuff. And so yeah, that was definitely, score's huge. Scores, especially like again like a movie without a lot of dialogue, sound and score are huge. They're massive, you know.
So what story do you want to tell next?
I'm writing some things, but I don't really want to talk about like what I'm writing on right now because like it's too, I don't like talking about it, you know. But I'm definitely writing some stuff for sure.
And what character do you want to play next?
Well, gosh, I just usually look for a great script, great character to play. It's always wonderful when the right sort of filmmaker comes and, you know, he knows to cast the right people. Whenever you find like the special chemistry, it works when it does, and that's what I try to look for. But El Borracho is really what I'm working on next. El Borracho!
Yeah. You should. I think it's great.
I just did Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, where I played a captain of the sea that's like a sea monster hunter. That was fun. I'll never play Sherlock Holmes again. And no one who isn't British should ever play Sherlock Holmes. I'll just say that. Or 007. Just, you have to be British. That's just all I say.
So were you guys aware that RoboCop was filmed in Dallas, but it was set in Detroit?
Oh, really?
Right.
And there were a lot of post-apocalyptic scenes in Dallas. It was supposed to be Detroit. So.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Future Detroit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Kind of classic movie for sure. For sure.
I have one more thing, Mr. Norton. I liked the moments towards the end of the film when they're approaching the city and there's all these people standing around and they're sort of waiting for these people who have arrived a long distance. I was curious about the people you were able to gather up for that final scene.
Basically just sent out, I basically like working with, so we had our one casting people that were based in, that were doing like New York and LA casting, but then we also, for extras and stuff, we had like a New York people did it, and we basically said we're doing this kind of movie, blah blah. We want people that could, and they rounded, they would come with pictures and round them up or whatever, and brought them in or whatever. But that was interesting when we were doing that, because that was another thing where, like that was the type of thing. So, and we had to shoot that obviously pretty fast, and it was like a crazy day.
It was raining. It was
raining and snowing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and it was just like finding it, like what am I like, even like, so I have them like they're humming or whatever, because like I thought that, but that had to be found like shooting, because at first I had him saying stuff and and like the language just wasn't working. It just felt like too corny. It's just like, I don't know. And then it's like shooting. It's like start humming, and that's ended up with, that's what's in the movie, and that's, as soon as I heard them humming, I'm like, that's fucking it, dude. That's so good.
They were awesome too. They were like super troopers, and they were all into it. And they were all actors, Yeah. It was really helpful because sometimes
they were into it.
They were like feeling it.
Yeah, totally. It was pretty rad.
Well, we have about 10 minutes left. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about that we haven't touched on yet?
I mean, I guess I could talk about casting or something. So like when we met, like he kind of talked about it briefly. Like it was kind of like a magical moment. I guess I don't know, just process. I don't know if it's interesting to anybody, but like the way I cast is kind of different. I think like I don't really like to, like I didn't audition anybody, and not only did I not audition, when I met him, I was just like, again, it was just like the energy of us like sitting there and like these people coming up, and it was just like felt so synchronistic, and I just felt David's energy, and I could just see him in the world that I wanted to create, and it's just like that's the guy, you know, for sure. And then like with Lily, who plays like sort of the damsel in it, like when we were casting for her, like you know, basically your casting agents like send out stuff, and agents send them, you know, lists of people and pictures and all that kind of stuff. And I was getting like all this stuff, and I was, you know, all like from different actresses and stuff, or from agents, and you know, for these actresses that might be interested or whatever. And I was like going through them, and none of them were right, you know. And there was like some pretty, you know, well-known, you know, some people, you know, names or something. And like, but like everybody like looked like they were all like obviously very pretty girls, you know, but like they all looked like next door pretty or whatever. And I was like, no, this is like, I was panicking because nobody was right. And like just looking, and I was looking at all these like medieval paintings and stuff, and like I was like, I need this girl who looks like she's in a like she's a bird in a glass cage, you know. And I sent like the casting directors like this Chronic painting, but and they sent me like a picture of Lily Cole, and without like Lily Cole had done like she was in Imaginary Dr. Parnassus and stuff like that, but I didn't really remember her from that or whatever. I just looked at the picture and I said, I want her. That's it. I don't even need to see her act. and I just knew that she could do, I don't know, just like looking at her picture, I knew she could do it, you know. But it's kind of like there's always like a little bit. And then I went and I met her, and she was like so smart and cool, and it's like this chick, she's perfect, you know. But you don't know, you know. And then she came on set and she just killed it, you know. And she was so good. And then with Goran too, like Goran's a great actor, but like even him, like as soon as it was just like looking at his image, and I'm like, that's him, you know. So like it's just like based on sort of like just like feeling, I don't know, some weird premonition or like some kind of weird thing that like, so that's kind of interesting maybe, I don't know. But yeah.
David, do you have anything? You good?
I got nothing.
Okay.
I haven't seen the film yet.
Yeah, you can see it tonight.
Come back, yeah. I'm
So
seeing
we'll
it
get
tonight, and
here
I'm really
again
excited.
After he sees it.
There you go.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much, you
Hey,
guys.
thank you guys.